one of the blessings that I receive as a pastor is I get to meet people from every church I served. Every place I went, I met some saints. I met some sinners too, but they're all redeemed. So one of the people that I am going to introduce to you is Midge Lamb. Her name is Midge, and she was in her 70s when I met her, and she passed away last year. Midge was a treasurer of the church, and she did everything by her hand, and she made no mistakes. One of the things that she was really passionate about was rummage sale. She was the coordinator of the rummage sale, and nobody dared to challenge her when it comes to the time of rummage sale. She put so many hours in it, so much effort to make sure everything is organized and ready, and the fellowship hall is like filled with rummage. And when everything is organized, and by the time like 5 o'clock on Friday night, when the crowd comes in, she will sit in the corner in her chair. She will look at people coming in and looking at the things and, trying to figure out what they want to buy. She'll just smile and look at them. And every time I saw her like that, I thought of the passage in the book of Genesis, when God created heaven and earth and the birds and everything in the world. God said, it is good, right? So I feel like Midge created this rummage sale. She put all this effort, and finally it came to compulsion. She will sit down and say, it is good. And I wondered, why? There must be a story, right? If someone is so dedicated and so passionate about something, there's always a good story to tell, and like a secret. So one day I asked her, hey Midge, tell me, how did you get involved in rummage sale and why are you so passionate about it? Well, she told me about her childhood. She says she's from a very poor family. And they were poor, and the neighborhood knew that this family is very poor. So the neighbors would bring stuff for this family. And they'll receive, like old used clothes or shoes or bags, whatever, that the neighbors thought that the family can use. And one day, she saw her mom going through these bags, and she found out all these molded clothes and blankets that were so dirty that no one can really use. And her mother talked to herself, I need to write a thank you card for those people who brought these. And that remark left a big impression in Midge's mind. So she was like a police. When it comes to sorting things out, when the bag arrives, she makes sure, that all the things are decent, and she wanted to be sure that people who come to get clothes or whatever use things because they are in need. They need a support from the church's, good people. She want to make sure they get good stuff. So, we will ask, hey, Midge, what do you think? We'll just, point out. And we never argue with her. And I thought, What a great way to reconcile with her past. What a great way to bring healing to her past and her young mind that was hurting with her own mother, but kept what was best. What was best, bringing something out of people's generosity and then turn that into gift for people in need. How do you reconcile with your past? How do you reconcile or bring healing and restore from the past experiences that's still hurting you? This woman in the gospel, she brought it to Jesus. She brought her past, the sins of her past, the things that have been bothering her immensely. She decided to bring it to Jesus so that she can bring some reconciliation to her own past and bring some healing. And she trusted that Jesus is capable of doing it. When we think about, we heard this story millions times, right? So we think about that. We imagine that she planned to walk to Jesus and then bathe him and then, dry his feet with her hair and then, put an ointment on his feet. But I read it this time differently. I don't think she choreographed at all. She just brought this expensive jar of oil because that is the most precious gift that she can give to Jesus. And when she came with that gratitude, with that desire to give something precious, she encountered the presence of Jesus that has so much healing power in him. When someone encounters such divine presence of accepting and forgiving and allowing you to approach, that's when you get overwhelmed by love, overwhelmed by the sense of forgiveness, overwhelmed by the sense of healing that you receive. So the tears just poured out, just came from her eyes and to bathe his feet. Have you ever cried that much? I have, and I'm sure some of you have too. Something that comes to you as an overwhelming reality, you cry hard. But I do believe that this cry, these tears from this woman was from the gratitude. She was a sinner. But through this encounter with Jesus, she got the new identity. Her new identity is forgiven and grateful. She is no longer sinner anymore. She is forgiven and grateful. This encounter between Jesus and this woman created a sacred space. This is a place that the sinner and the Redeemer encountered one another, and the transformation in the sinners happened. And then the affirmation of salvation was given. The promise of salvation is given. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Jesus did it all, from forgiveness to healing and restoration and the promise for salvation. And I think this is what happens in our midst. And this is at least what needs to happen in our midst, in our church, in our individual lives. The stories like this, encountering our Redeemer, and then having the affirmation that we are forgiven and healed. This is where we find an affirmation of salvation. Over the past month and a half, I met great people. That's you, by the way, just in case you don't know. Whenever I saw you, especially when I'm in the office or in the church and you come in and out, busy with doing things and, you know, whatever you signed up to do, and you do it so sincerely and with all your heart and soul, I became curious. What story do you have? What story do they have? What encounter with your Redeemer did you have that made you to come to this place? What story of reconciliation with your past do you have? How did you come to that place? Or are you still struggling? And I wanted to know all about that. I wanted to know because that's the beginning of our relationship. That's how we begin our relationship, by sharing our stories. It's beyond our finance or trustees or how to invest our money or, you know, how to maintain the property. These are very important things. But when we meet, I expect us to share the stories so we can truly know each other and we can truly understand where we are coming from. July 2019, we began a new journey. And we're still brand new, right? And even though we're very new in this journey together, I feel I'm very close to you. And I feel like our relationship has just begun into the right direction. And the only way this relationship is going to go in the future is there's only one way, going deeper. And I hope that we will come together as a church, sharing our stories, our encounters with the Redeemer, and how we reconciled with the past, so that the past won't be the obstacle for our present and for the future. Individually and collectively as a church. So we all bring our new identity, right? We are forgiven and grateful. And we will continue to be forgiven and grateful. And when we come together to church, we have to be forgiving also. So forgiveness of God will continue to happen in our midst. So be forgiving and be forgiven and be grateful and be faithful. Then the peace of Christ will fill your heart and mind and soul and fill this church, fill this community, and fill this earth. Amen.